Now it's time for me to record commentary over my very first 2D Sonic game. And that's right, I own the Sonic Pinball Party collection of this. I've heard it's pretty rare, so I guess I'm lucky I got it. So I actually got to play Sonic Pinball Party as a kid. But on the other hand, it means that it takes even longer to actually be able to do anything in this game. 23 seconds before the title screen. I mean, seriously, I hate it when games do that. I do like this intro, though. And the whole music that plays makes it kind of epic. But yeah, this is Sonic Advance. This was the first 2D Sonic game I ever played, and the first one that I ever beat as a kid. Well, I didn't get all the emeralds, in fact I didn't even get one. But I played way too much of this as a kid. I beat most of the characters' campaigns, I guess. And replaying this game, I honestly don't know how I managed to put up with it so much as a kid. Because now that I have experience with the classic Sonic titles, the game's level design just feels so awkward. I mean, look at this. This is the biggest example right away. This looks perfect, right? But look, spikes. There's just slopes leading directly into spikes. And now boulders that stop you? What are these here for? What do they contribute to the level design? Not to mention that the crabs that shoot projectiles are pretty annoying, and they're the first level in the game. I mean, this is great. I love this. And it's especially cool how you outrun the camera. That's so badass. And it's good that you get sent upwards, and so it trains you to go into a platforming section. That's good Sonic level design. I also like how sometimes the frog badniks are kind enough to jump out of the way rather than let you run into them. This is a lot like a classic Sonic game. Like, the physics seem very similar. I honestly think that the spin dash works a lot better in this game than it does in the classic Sonic games. Like, I feel like you get sent with such a better burst of speed when you use the spin dash in this game. The spin dash feels so satisfying to use, especially when you use it on top of slopes. When I went back to this to write a review of it a couple years ago, I felt it was very slow, but that was because I wasn't spin dashing on top of slopes and stuff. So, you pretty much have to treat it like a classic Sonic game. Like, you spin dash on top of slopes and spin dash into loops, and that's how you go fast. Although I still have a problem with the fact that you take such a long time to accelerate from a standstill. And that's why you don't want to try to walk forwards to accelerate. You've got to spin dash. Sonic Advance 2 would have the springs launch you when you just walked into them. And I felt like that was a lot better. It helped keep the flow going. It didn't act as a pace breaker where you had to stop and jump onto springs. This game wasn't entirely made by Sega. It was also made by a company called Dimps. And Dimps is famous for, well, it's weird because at first the Sonic fanbase was all like, "We love you, Dimps, you make such better games than Sonic Team does," because it was the dark age of Sonic. Especially when games like Sonic Rush came around, and Rush was made really close to 06. But eventually they got to a point where people were like, "We hate you, Dimps, you're not enough like the classic Sonic games." So I'm a defender of Dimps, but I'll admit they have their problems. And it's weird because the people working on Sonic Pocket Adventure, which was the perfect representation of the classic Sonic games, they also made this game. I guess it wasn't the same people then. I don't like this boss. Part of it is because of the screen crunch. It's very easy for the hammer to suddenly attack you, or the Eggmobile to suddenly land on you. And thank God that there isn't any consequences to defeating this boss off-screen. Normally I would think that Sonic is the best character in the game because he's the fastest. Although honestly I don't notice that much of a difference in speed between most of the characters. Unfortunately, because this game's level design is so annoying sometimes, my favorite character to play is Tails. I always like skipping the annoying parts of the level design with him. That's a cool set piece. Unfortunately, it leads into yet another generic factory level. I mean, how many of these has there been? I mean, at least it's orange, so it's a good aesthetic, but those enemies that I ran into earlier were so dickishly placed. Once again, just like in the classic Sonic games, you're stuck in the center of the camera. So it's very easy to run into enemies when you're running forwards, because you don't have enough time to properly react to them. Every other platform out there, like Mario for example, which Sonic is supposed to be doing better than, because it's competing against it. Every other platformer has the characters on the left side of the screen. But this game, like, you think a game based around speed and thrills would make sure you were on the left side so that it wasn't cheap. Most of the time, Dimps seems to look like it's doing a good job and it knows what it's doing with the level design in this game. Like, this is definitely Sonic level design, but other times, the level design just feels so awkward to traverse through. And there's also some dickish enemy placement as well. This game has a lot in common with Sonic 2, I think. And if you saw my commentary of that, I don't entirely like that game. Look, more dickish enemy placement. If you just ran forwards there, you would have gotten hit. Because one of the things that, the biggest things that this game has in common with Sonic 2 to me is that both games had some kind of awkward level design. Like, it didn't entirely feel like Sonic 2 was as based on speed as it should have been, even though it dumped down the platform. Yeah, here's Tails' idle animation. It's weird because most of the time Tails' idle animations involve him going to sleep or being sleepy, but that one doesn't really do that. Anyways, Sonic 2 had a lot of spikes in it. I mean, a lot of spikes. And it's funny because Advance 1, I consider spikes to be the biggest problem with the level design. There are spikes everywhere. Like, there's so many times when spikes will completely break the pace. Like, you're going fast and then all of a sudden spikes hit you. And that's another cheap enemy. Mainly because of the projectiles it throws once on the ceiling. I don't feel like swinging from the crates and jumping off them is as bad as it could be. Like, you're hanging on the cranes, but it's not like you don't have any horizontal momentum when you're jumping off them. It's not like these things. Those platforms are kind of annoying, because you don't have much horizontal momentum when you're going off them, so it's easy to not land on the targets that you want to, because they're not going fast to left or right on them. I used to think that you had to hold down, or the direction that the arrow was pointing you, to go through the tubes, but they just send you there automatically. So it's kind of confusing that you're forced to stop and be still in them for a little while before you can go fast in them. Why can't they be like the tubes in Chemical Plant Zone, where you just go fast in them right away? The level also introduces those horizontal poles that you swing around, and you swing around them so fast it's really hard to time it, so I often end up pressing the A button and flinging myself down instead of up. I'm frustrated most of the time that I play this game, because I don't feel like the level design is as consistently speedy or consistently good in platforming as Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which set a pretty high standard. I mean, it's better than Sonic 2 in that there's a lot more loops and slopes. It's definitely a faster game than Sonic 2, but it still has the problem awkward level design that doesn't entirely feel like the developers knew what they were doing. Because it only feels like it's a good Sonic level half of the time. And there's even more spikes than Sonic 2. This attack's really cheap. Bullshit! He wasn't landing on me at all, and it's not like he created a shockwave on the ground to visibly hit me to make it look like I got hit by a shockwave. It's so cheap that, like, I do not really like the bosses in this game at all. And believe it or not, they get worse. The Advance series definitely gets bosses that are worse as the series goes on. And now we have the hard mode of the game. Tails was the easy mode, and Amy is the hard mode. That's what happens when you press down and A. For some reason, Amy doesn't actually have a spin dash. I have no idea why. I mean, I guess she didn't have a spin dash in any of the previous games she was playable in. I get that. But she's supposed to be a Sonic character, right? She should control more like one. And look, what you saw earlier there when she was falling out of the tube was that she was curled up into a ball. But that just makes it all more inexcusable that when she jumps, she's not curled up into a ball. So when she jumps into an enemy, she gets hurt. That's really awkward and difficult to get used to. I mean, Sonic Adventure 2 multiplayer fixed that problem. Sonic Adventure 2 multiplayer sort of made her a Sonic clone. She didn't have a spin dash, but she was still pretty fast and could jump in enemies and homie attack. In this game, she's kind of lame. I mean, there are people that like playing as her, but she's kind of more of a regular platformer kind of character. It's kind of hard to remember that you need to press the B button near an enemy in order to attack it. When you're running along the ground and you press the B button, you lose all of your horizontal momentum. Something I figured out by complete accident, today in fact, was that if you press down A and then you press B right afterwards, Amy will actually do a slide tackle where her face will slide along the ground humorously. I'm not really sure what this is good for, but I wasn't able to show that off because I didn't know that you could do that at the time. The advantage to Amy is that aside from her hammer being able to sort of break some boss fights, there's also the fact that if she hits a spring with her hammer, it'll launch her a lot higher than normal. So you can use that to take some cool shortcuts. If you press down and B when you're standing still on the ground, you'll do a hammer vault jump that's not nearly as satisfying as the one in Sonic Adventure 1 because you don't have much horizontal momentum from it, and you can't do it again immediately as you land on the ground. So it's not like you can just keep doing that and keep moving forwards. But the fact that she can hit a spring with her hammer and launch herself really high, and the fact that she can jump higher than every other character, it sort of makes her the most aerial character in the game. I always have the hardest time getting that flag to respond. Like, this level has a lot of gimmicks to it. It has those things, and it has the flag things that fling you forward and send you really fast. That enemy was ridiculously placed, by the way. But yeah, see how awkward this is? Because you don't have a spin dash with Amy, it's like the only way that you can ever be fast is if you happen to hit a dash pad or a spring. Although I will compliment the fact that I love the way the dash pads look in this game. I love how the dash pads in this game are red, because it really helps instantly convey speed. And the red springs look so satisfying in this game. Warp portals. I'm still not quite sure what this is good for. Oh, those things are annoying. Why are they constantly sending you to the left? You'd think... See, now you get sent to the right. But generally, I love the way this game looks. I love the way the checkpoints look. Bullshit. Another cheapishly placed enemy. Wonderful. I got hit by that thing 3 times. Enemies in places with low ceilings on them, with floors and stuff, should not be in those areas. Because it's so easy to run into them, and you just run forwards, but because they're on the center of the camera, you hit them before you have the time to react to them. And this boss is pretty annoying. It's completely random where Eggman will appear from, and where the spike ball will appear from. So, it's not like you can play the boss multiple times and get better at it. It's more like you get lucky, and manage to react quick enough to damage the boss. One thing I do appreciate about this boss though, if the boss goes up into a tube, then you can still attack it while it's in that tube, while it's still in the process of getting to the next tube. So like if it goes up into a tube, you can still jump into it. It's not nearly as common for you to feel cheated out of a hit. I was actually doing this wrong. There is a trick with Amy where you can cheat the boss by staying here and ducking whenever the spike balls or whatever come towards you, and then you just press the B button to attack Eggman when he's on the bottom of the screen. But it's so difficult to beat this boss because they appear in completely random places, so there's no real strategy involved. You just have to react quickly. And I very clearly pressed the B button to hit Eggman there, and she didn't attack him. There's a very clear and noticeable delay between when you press the B button and when she swings her hammer at an enemy. I like Casino Paradise. I consider it to be the best casino level that I've ever played. Casino Paradise is easily my favorite level in the game. And that's weird coming from me because I usually hate pinball levels. But generally, I don't find it to be obnoxious trying to progress like I do in most pinball levels. I like the gimmicks of this level. So I'll see you for the next part.